This is an after-school program podcast.
Welcome to the Home Studio Hangout podcast, where we explore what it's like building, running, and working out of a home studio with your hosts, Joshua Matotek, Andrew Simmons, and many guests in different areas of the music industry. What is up, friends? It's me, your boy, back with another solo episode. Previously stated, I was supposed to never do this again, yet here we are. Part of that is because I kind of wanted to follow up on the last week's episode. Other part of that is because I feel like we talk a lot about getting out of your comfort zone, and Mama didn't raise no hypocrite. So today, we're just gonna be following up on last week. This episode is gonna be about stress management and how to kind of combat all of the things that I talked about last week. But I'm gonna be outlining some of the things that I've done over the past 6 days that have drastically improved my my stress levels. Other than that, though, I'm on track for my best month ever. Your boy more than doubled his day job salary already, and it is only the first week of April, so that's very sick. Drew is still doing Drew things, still adapting to life with Micah. And he's still a content god. For those who don't know, I don't help out with this podcast at all. I'm just there. I show up and I'm like, I just came to help out. And that's what I do. I just help out with the actual recording part. And then I render everything off to Dropbox and I tell Drew to go have fun. And then he will sit there and he makes me sound pretty. He makes me look pretty. He releases everything. He is the podcast. So he's still doing all that while he has a little small bean. That's such a cringy 2015 term. While he has a small child with him. What I'm going to do is we're just going to, I actually made notes this time for those who actually watch our YouTube. I got 2 pages of notes. So we're just going to run through it. I feel like a preacher right now. All right. So, in order to manage yourself, you have to hold yourself accountable, which is common sense, but it's really hard to do in practice, especially if you're like me, where you'll just avoid things if it means that it makes your life a little bit easier. So, last week, for those who didn't listen, I was talking about how I went to a function with some friends and I freaked out because I wasn't working. So the first thing that came to mind, because I talked about it on the podcast, was using my planner. So at the beginning of this week, well, I'm not at a full week with my planner. It's kind of staggered. But so before the beginning of this week, I sat down and I planned out my next 7 days. And I basically broke it down into 3 things, which is work, my other work, and then things I need to do to function, as a human being, which is silly. But just breaking it down into those 3 things really helped out a lot. Another thing I've done is try to pick 3 important things that I need to get done. So for instance, today, my 3 things were go shopping, knock out a sound design project, and start a full production project. And then I added in a 4th one, which is do this podcast. So I kind of do 3 important things per day And if it's something that like is flexible, I'll add in another thing. So today I finished the sound design project, started the full production. Now I'm doing the podcast. I didn't go shopping. In fact, I didn't even shower until like 4 p.m. Just wasn't vibing with it today. So this really gave me a lot of clarity because it sounds so simple, but just putting down what you have to do really makes a huge difference. It really helps you feel like you're in control, because guessing or like being like, hey, I have this list of 15 things I have to do tomorrow is like super, super overwhelming. And it also helped me make time for the people that I care about, because then I'm able to say, yeah, I'll be free then. So basically how I'm scheduling things from like a day-to-day standpoint, like not so much the planner, but like how I'm structuring my days, is I don't go through my emails at the beginning of the day. Some people like to do that. Some people don't. Some people, I heard that somebody was talking about how there's like some kind of system to being more productive where like you check your emails at lunchtime. I don't have like a hard stance on this. Like if an important email comes through in the morning, that's fine. But I try to answer all my emails in the afternoon, throughout the evening. Plus, most people, here's some knowledge for you from Internet Department Josh. Most people are most accessible before 8:30 in the morning and after 5:30 at night. That's just how it works. Most of that is because of the conventional 9 to 5. But if you think about it, for like the people who don't really do that, most of the crazy rushes that happen, like whether it's for breakfast or like traffic on the way home. So even if you work retail, typically you're still going to be more accessible during those times because your work slows down, or people lose focus and they're more tied to their phones throughout the day, as the day goes forward, I should say. So I don't really worry about that. Emails never really bug me out. Actually, communication in general doesn't bug me out because I'm both really good yet really bad at getting back to people. So it's probably something I need to work on. Eventually, I'm going to schedule certain times that I like check through everything. But for right now, I don't have any sort of like process in place. But yeah, I try to shoot for like mid to late day. And I just like that because I'm not in like my morning manic tizzy, and I'm able to actually like take my time replying to things. Whenever I have new projects coming in, I like to move the small projects to the front. So for instance, the full production that I started today, I already had booked. Yesterday, I got hit up to do the sound design project. So I immediately started at like 11 p.m. last night just to like listen to the song, get a vibe, start picking out like samples and libraries that I wanted to use in it. And then I just closed it out, printed off like the first like 30 seconds of the song, sent it over and said, hey, is this the vibe? Woke up to a text message this morning saying, yes, that is in fact the vibe. And then I knocked out the rest of the track in like 2 hours. So the reason why I like to move small projects forward is because, one, nobody should have to wait that long. Two, in a perfect world, I'd also be able to knock out full production super quickly. But with my day job, that's kind of difficult right now. So these smaller projects are kind of like the bread and butter of my existence, because while like a full production pays, 5 times more, it does take me a little bit of extra time to do. And my artists are already on board with that. But I like to think if I was to send out a song for additional production or sound design or something like that, I wouldn't expect somebody to, shoot me back the tracks within, 24 hours. So that was really cool doing that. And then before I hopped on here, they finally all got back to me and I killed it in the first pass. So that's sick. I just don't believe in making people wait for simple stuff. So that's kind of there's a few reasons behind it, but it's mostly because of that last one. Like, I just think it's silly to be like, well, you're going to have to get in line and wait. Like, dude, it's a cheap project. Just knock it out. Takes you no time. On top of that, it was a blast. I love doing those kinds of projects. Whenever I'm like scheduling out time to work on these projects, I either go in 2 or 4 hour blocks, which like I used to be very adamant about, and then I slipped away from as my free time got way smaller. And so I've been doing that where I either work on something for 2 hours or I work on something for 4 hours, and I take a ton of breaks. Last night I was doing mix revisions, and I even I did one mix revision and one new mix. And so I kind of did the same thing where I knocked out one mix revision. As that was rendering, I played 2 games of Call of Duty because I wanted to unlock the ISO because I haven't played Call of Duty in so long. And then I went back and immediately dove into a brand new mix, got the rough like knocked out in under a half hour, rendered that out, sent it out to make sure it's the vibe. Haven't heard back yet. But, finding ways to kind of just pace yourself through these things is super, super important. And I feel like I was, listening to the same thing for hours. If I couldn't understand what I had to do, I would just get frustrated. A way around this is to send constant updates. So I send updates to my artists constantly, whether it's cell phone videos or rendering off sections of the song. I just send them out and I'm like, hey, what do you think about this sound? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? They're able to then easily digest that 30-second clip and give me a yes or no answer instead of, hey, we talked about the project, you paid me, and then I just produced the entire thing. What do you think about this? And then they come back with 50 notes on, what they want to change or whatever. That's all really avoidable if you just send out quick snippets and be like, hey, is this right? Because getting a yes or no answer says a lot more than 18 paragraphs of words. So I've been doing that, and it's been working out great, because if it's a no, then you didn't waste 4 hours producing a whole track. You only wasted an hour, just producing the first part of it. And then you're able to stop yourself before you get too deep. Another thing I do, I don't force ideas at all. So a good example of this was last week. I was working on a production. I was just listening to it, and I felt like the vocal wasn't vibing with the track. And I was like, man, what do I do? And I could have easily sat there and screwed it up even worse. But instead, I just turned it off. And then I watched anime. And came back to it, and I was able to knock it out. Actually, same thing kind of happened today whenever I started that production project. I just was going through it, and I was like, yeah, the vibe isn't right, but I'm also not in the right headspace to figure out what that vibe is. So I did all of the editing and comping stuff, like the little things that are just annoying, organized the session, replaced a couple sounds that I thought were supposed to be there, and then I just left it alone. Because if you're not feeling inspired to work on something, there's no way that you can possibly do it justice. Now, if you're working on a major label project with hard deadlines, I'm sure that it'll get to a point where, you have to work through those things. I'll point you over to the Matt Rad podcast once again, because those guys have to do it constantly. Or even worse, they kill a track and then the team comes back with notes that just ruin it. But whatever, we won't get too far into that because I ain't famous. aside from the 4-hour and 2-hour blocks that I work in, I'm also taking a ton of breaks. Those breaks include getting up to go get another glass of water, getting up to get more caffeine, getting up to just get up, getting up to pet your cat. Shout out to Jeff, best cat in the world. Going to the gas station just to make sure that your favorite gas station attendant is doing okay. All those different things can be breaks. You could go for a walk. You could call your friend. You could call your mother because you haven't called her in weeks and she probably hates you for it. There's a lot of different things that you can do. The most important part is to just simply get away from your speakers. I used to watch quick videos, look up plugin demos. I think everybody kind of has a list of plugins in their head that they want to use, but they haven't actually got or demoed yet. So I used to just check out other plugins and software and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, you're still listening on the same set of speakers. And so I think it's a good idea to just completely remove yourself from that and ideally be in a quieter environment, or at least one that doesn't have music. Another thing I do, another reason why I do all that is mostly just to avoid demo-itis. It's really if you listen to a bad track 20 times and then make it good, you're going to think it sounds weird. So that's a big one. I'll just take a break, check my Facebook and Instagram DMs, get back to artists, get back to friends, send stupid Snapchats to my brother, and go get another beverage, and then go back to work. Another thing I do is I track my progress. Drew does this in Pipedrive. I never really had a project tracking thing. I had it a part of my Pipedrive thing. So Drew has different stages in one pipeline as far as the deal process goes. So you have lead, contact, no contact, proposal, negotiation, whatever, closed. And then you have the other pipeline, which is mix prep, mix, revisions, finished, deliverable sent, or whatever. And I tried out Trello. I think I like Trello. I haven't used it enough. I haven't made it a part of my workflow. Trello is actually, there's a really cool CRM system to Trello, which I really want to talk about, but I probably should save for another episode because it's just going to be another 20 minutes of me rambling. But it's very similar to Pipedrive. It's not as cool as Pipedrive, but it's free. So for those who don't want to spend $30 a month on Pipedrive, to be honest, since I scaled back and I only take on I take on a smaller amount of projects, but they're all higher ticketed. So I don't really need to use a project tracking system. But lately I have been getting into mix work, sound design work, which are super quick turnarounds, and they're high volume. So for my full production stuff, I don't need to track it because right now I have 3 songs that I'm working on that are full production, and that's it for this month. But for the sound design and mix stuff, definitely figure out a way to track your progress. Because it's really easy to forget about a project, and then that's another day that person has to wait. And I would make a habit about doing that for anything, whether it's your friend who you're talking to about helping you out with mix prep, or you promised somebody you'd send them a list of your top 10 plugins. Thankfully, we made a podcast episode for that, so I stopped having to type it out. Just some way to kind of track what you have to do. Trello is probably the best free option. Pipedrive is the best paid option. Do not dive down the CRM rabbit hole. I used really complex CRMs working in the internet department at a car dealer that were super powerful. I could run all these reports. We're small businesses. You don't need anything crazy. You need two things. One, all the people that are hitting you up, how much their project's worth. Are they going to work with you or are they not going to work with you? Like, it's super simple. Their time frame, like stuff like that, and their contact info. You don't need anything crazy. And I've tried every single consumer CRM. Just get Pipedrive or Trello with a, I forget the add-on, but we're going to talk about it again. See, this is what I'm talking about. I said I wasn't going to go down the rabbit hole, and here I am going down the rabbit hole. This is why we need Drew. I just get derailed constantly. All right. So yeah, you just need a way to track your progress. What I've been doing is I literally just write it down, because for me, it's pretty simple. It's, did I start it? Did they listen to what I started? Did they like it? Did I finish it? It's pretty simple. So I've been taking a notebook with me everywhere I go. Actually, it's this notebook, and it's a Paradise Hills edition. Shout out to my brother. He got this printed for me, and it was a Christmas present. I actually cried. I don't cry when I get presents, but for whatever reason, this notebook made me cry. And so in here, I just have all of the songs that I'm working on. I have general follow-up on here as well. Then I have stuff from my day job that I wrote in here. And then I have the podcast notes. And been using that for probably 4 out of the 5 or 6 days that I've been on this train. And it's already helped out a lot. I used to think that like paper and pen was kind of silly. But there's something to be said about physically writing down your thoughts and like what you're working on or whatever. Well, I think I am going to start making a habit about using Trello and Pipedrive more. I know for a fact that the notebook is just going to stay, because it's just so great to just have that, like, something that's separate from your cell phone. When I'm working, I don't want to be on my cell phone. There's too many distractions. Like, I deleted my Twitter because it was always making me sad. And like, I literally forced myself to not go on TikTok, because I know if I go on TikTok, I'll be there for 6 hours. So, you know, having something that isn't digital I think is super, super important, especially whenever you're constantly surrounded by technology. Like, we don't work in a field where someone's hitting us up when we go chop down a tree or change a tire, or, you know what I mean? Like, we don't do manual labor. I mean, I guess a recording engineer could be if you're setting up mics, but like, we're in front of a computer when we work. We're in front of a computer when we're not working. And when we're not in front of a computer, we're in front of our cell phone. So just being able to like have something tangible that isn't a cell phone is really, really huge. Highly recommend it. If you want a limited edition Paradise Hills notebook, hit up your boy, DM me on Instagram, and I'll have Jacob send you one. I have no clue how much they cost, but they're probably very inexpensive. And he gets them so they're spiral bound. Means for easy folding. Look how much folding this does. If you're listening to the podcast and you're not watching the YouTube, you're missing out right now. It's just effortless, man. Highest of quality. Tell you what, definitely recommended. So, in short, just to like wrap up this other short episode, these are actually kind of fun because I'm able to just like babble for 20 minutes and then call it quits. To wrap up for today, this past week, I already feel like I'm getting better. Probably not where I want to be. Where I want to be is like working out a ton every single day, eating right every single day. Still not there yet. I've tried. Like, I did a bunch of meal prep. Microwave broke at work. It was really sad. Plus, I learned that like meal prepping salmon isn't really the best thing if you're a texture person. because like once you heat it up, it's just really mushy. Anyway, I'm still not there like health wise yet, but I feel like I'm already making progress towards, being completely booked up, working full time, and still being a good, boyfriend, brother, son, friend. And I think that's what's the most important thing right now. So make sure that you're tracking your progress. Make sure you're taking the time to do these things. Today it was a day off for me. I had a lot of free time and I spent a lot of time just laying down as my form of taking breaks today. It was actually a pretty exhausting day. And I think that it's important to realize that every day isn't going to be your best and you're going to have a lot of bad days, but how you work through the bad days says a heck of a lot more about who you are than who you are whenever you're having a great day and you do okay. So the fact that I was able to complete everything that I wanted to do today, besides running to the store, which is whatever, it's not even urgent. I'll stop after work tomorrow. That was huge for me because this morning I wanted to just stay in bed all day. I did not feel good. So make sure you're tracking your progress. Make sure you're scheduling time. Make sure you're taking breaks. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. And yeah, I will see you next week. I think Drew's his idea was to take 3 weeks off. So he thinks that I'm going to have at least one guest while he's gone, but he doesn't know it yet, but it's just going to be me. So until next time.
And that's it for this episode of the Home Studio Hangout podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Go check us out on Instagram at Home Studio Hangout. Give us a review on your favorite podcasting platform. And don't forget, keep on creating. See you next week.